Namaskar, good evening. You are watching Rajya Sabha Television. I am Smriti Rastogi with News Tonight. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. In his address to the nation on the eve of Independence Day, President Ram Nath Kovind praises the functioning of the parliament during the budget session, highlights important legislations passed by both houses, congratulates political parties for non-partisan conduct in approving bills like Triple Talaq and others. Abrogation of Article 370 will help people of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, says the President. Asserts they will be able to reap the benefits of progressive laws and also various reservations provided in the fields of education and employment. Government can only build social infrastructure, comprehensive healthcare programs and provide facilities, but people have to take advantage of them, reminds the President, exhorts all citizens to make conscious efforts to use these benefits. Nation prepares to observe 73rd Independence Day, 132 brave hearts of Army and paramilitary forces to be honoured with gallantry awards, Wing Commander Abhinandan to be presented Veer Chakra, special telecast of Prime Minister's address from the ramparts of the Red Fort on Rajya Sabha Television. And abrogation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir is a step in the right direction, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, underscores need to avoid partisanship and petty politicking on issues of national importance. President Ram Nath Kovind addressed the nation on the eve of India's 73rd Independence Day. He touched upon a number of issues, including the scrapping of Article 370, saying that the people of the region will benefit from the changes. He also expressed satisfaction over the productivity of the recently concluded parliamentary session. Take a look at all the key points from the address.
Contemporary India is very different from the India in which Mahatma Gandhi lived and worked. Even so, Gandhiji remains extremely relevant. In his advocacy of sustainability, ecological sensitivity, and living in harmony with nature, he anticipated pressing challenges of our times. When we design and deliver welfare programs for our disadvantaged fellow citizens and families, when we seek to harness the power of the sun as renewable energy, we put Gandhian philosophy into action. I am confident that the recent changes made in Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh would be of immense benefit to those regions. They will enable the people to access and enjoy the same rights, same privileges, and same facilities as their fellow citizens in the rest of the country. These include progressive egalitarian laws and provisions related to the right to education, accessing public information through the right to information, reservations in education and employment, and other facilities for traditionally deprived communities, and justice for our daughters by abolishing unequal practices such as instant triple talaq. I am happy to note that the recently concluded session of Parliament saw lengthy and productive sittings of both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Many important bills were passed in a spirit of cross-party cooperation and constructive debate. I am confident this is only an indicator of what the coming 5 years have in store. I also urge that this culture percolates to all our legislative assemblies. Why is this important? It is important not merely because the elected must be equal to the trust placed in them by their electors. It is also important because nation building, a continuous process of which independence was a key milestone, requires every institution and every stakeholder to work in tandem, to work in harmony, and to work in togetherness. Nation building, at the end of the day, is about creating that optimal partnership between voters and their representatives, between citizens and their government, and between civil society and state. The government can build financial infrastructure in the form of a transparent, inclusive banking system, an online-friendly tax system, and easier access to capital for legitimate entrepreneurs. The government can build physical infrastructure in the form of housing for the poorest of the poor and availability of energy, toilets, and water in every home. The government can build institutional infrastructure to address the paradox of floods and calamities in some parts of the country and water scarcity in other parts. The government can build connectivity infrastructure in the form of wider, better highways and safer, faster trains, airports in the interiors of our country, and ports that dot our coasts, and near universal data access that allows common citizens to benefit from digital India. The government can build social infrastructure in the form of a comprehensive healthcare program and facilities and provisions for the mainstreaming of our Divyang fellow citizens. The government can build legal infrastructure by enacting laws that advance gender equality as well as by removing obsolete laws to make the life easier for our people. We are a young country, a society increasingly defined and shaped by our youth. The energies of our young are being channelized in so many directions in a quest for excellence, from sport to science, from scholarship to soft skills. This is heartwarming. Nevertheless, the greatest gift we can give our young and our coming generations is to encourage and institutionalize a culture of curiosity, especially in the classroom. Let us listen to our children, for through them the future whispers to us. I say this with the confidence and belief that India will never lose its capacity to listen to the feeblest voice, that it will never lose sight of its ancient ideals, that it will forget neither its sense of fairness nor its sense of adventure. We Indians are a people who dare to explore the moon and Mars. We are also a people who persevere to create a loving habitat for 3 of every 4 wild tigers on our planet, because it is characteristic of Indianness to empathize with nature and with all living beings.
And ahead of the 73rd Independence Day celebrations, security has been beefed up across the country. Multi-layered security arrangements are in place in national capital, Delhi, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unfurl the tricolour from the ramparts of the Red Fort. A massive security ring, including NSG, snipers, elite SWAT commandos and kite catchers, have been placed around the Red Fort. Special deployments have been made by the SPG and different components of the army and paramilitary forces, along with around 20,000 Delhi police personnel, including those from the traffic wing. In the financial capital Mumbai, more than 40,000 police personnel will be guarding the city to ensure that Independence Day passes off without any untoward incident. A general alert to maintain law and order in view of Independence Day celebrations has been sounded across Maharashtra. The Army and BSF have also been put on high alert to step up a vigil along the Indo-Pak border. This is the first Independence Day after the abrogation of special status to Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 and reorganization of the state into two union territories. President Ram Nath Kovind signed off on awards to armed forces personnel and members of the paramilitary forces ahead of the India's 73rd Independence Day. The awards include 2 Kirti Chakras, 1 Veer Chakra, 14 Shaurya Chakras, 8 Bar to Sena Medals Gallantry, 90 Sena Medals Gallantry, 5 Nau Sena Medals Gallantry, 7 Vayu Sena Medals Gallantry and 5 Yuddha Sena Medals. The CRPF, which is the largest paramilitary force, has bagged the maximum of 75 gallantry medals, including a Kirti Chakra and 2 Shaurya Chakras, for counter-terrorist operations in Jammu and Kashmir and in the anti-Naxal combat grid. 5 personnel of the ITBP, tasked to guard the line of actual control with China, have been decorated with gallantry medals for displaying bravery in the anti-Naxal operations grid of Chhattisgarh. The force has been awarded a total of 19 medals in various service categories this time. Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman has been conferred the Veer Chakra, India's third highest wartime gallantry medal. In February this year, the Wing Commander had downed an enemy jet during the aerial combat with Pakistan and was held captive for 3 days. Squadron leader Minty Agrawal, who played a key role as flight controller during the aerial combat between India and Pakistan on February 27th, has been awarded Yuddha Seva Medal. At least 5 Mirage fighter pilots who were part of the operation to strike a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist training camp deep inside Pakistan's Balakot on February 27th are also among the awardees. Some other developments: Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has also extended greetings to the nation on the eve of our 73rd Independence Day. In his message, he asked everyone to remember the sacrifices of our freedom fighters. He also urged people to treat programs like Swachh Bharat, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, More Crop, Per Drop, environment and water conservation as people's movements. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that Jammu and Kashmir has been an integral part of India and will remain so. Delivering a lecture at Punjab University, the Vice President added that no one will be allowed to interfere in India's internal affairs. Addressing the gathering, Vice President said the abrogation of Article 370 was a step in the right direction and ensures the unity and integrity of the nation.
You cannot have discrimination. And this article was a stumbling block in the unity and integrity of the country. That's why it has gone. Let us not see politics in that. Let us not add religious overtones. Why should we think on those lines at all? And then this is an issue concerning the safety, security, unity and integrity of the country. Why should we focus our attention on such things and always have tension? If there is tension, you cannot have attention. You have to understand that. Attention for development. That is what is required.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will embark on a 3-nation visit to the Baltic states later this week. The Vice President will visit Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia during the 5-day visit beginning from August 17th. He will be accompanied by a high-level delegation, including Sanjay Shamrao Dhotre, Minister of State for HRD, Communications and IT. The visit takes place in the context of increasing political engagement and intensified trade and commercial engagement.
This is sensed a lot in the Baltic countries. They feel that with Sanskrit and other aspects of Indian culture, there is a kind of closeness which need to be nurtured and taken forward. The cutting-edge technology and innovation ecosystems of the Baltic countries also complement India's huge market and appetite for these kind of technologies. The important thing is that this is a historical visit in the sense that this is long awaited. Honorable Vice President will be the first ever high-level visit to the 3 Baltic countries, and therefore it's awaited there as well with a great deal of enthusiasm.
And with that, we'll slip into a very quick break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in her budget speech said that by year 2022, when we celebrate 75 years of our independence, every household, every rural household would be connected to electricity.
Every household. In fact, it's already done.
Before Uday 1 reforms kicked in, the DISCOMs were making losses to the tune of 60,000 crore rupees annually.
Trajectory, loss reduction, reforms, we are adding reforms. So the whole reform package will be tied with the support package.
That power generators must get coal supply without bothering about power purchase agreement.
Yeah.
How are you ensuring that?
Currently, that is one issue which needs to be addressed.
Watch To The Point with Rajkumar Singh, Minister of State, Power and Renewable Energy, only on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. A quick update from Jammu and Kashmir, where restrictions in Jammu have been completely lifted but will continue for a while longer in some places in Kashmir. This was confirmed by Munir Khan, one of the senior most officers of Jammu and Kashmir Police, at a press conference in Srinagar. Khan said there were localized incidents in various parts of Srinagar and other districts which had been contained and dealt with locally. Reiterating that the situation is totally under control, Khan said the main focus is to ensure peaceful Independence Day celebrations across the state, for which all arrangements have been made.
The situation in the whole of the state is completely under control. As far as Jammu division is concerned, the restrictions have been lifted, and you must be knowing that schools and other establishments are functional. As far as Kashmir division is concerned, the restrictions at certain places are in place. Presently, our main focus is 15th of August, and all the preparations are in place and all the arrangements are in place to ensure peaceful celebrations throughout the state.
Further relaxations in prohibitory orders have been given in a large number of areas, including Srinagar, and these relaxations will continue to be given till afternoon today. There have been a few minor localized incidents which have been dealt with at the local level itself. On all other fronts, civil supplies, national highway, airport, medical facilities, things continue to be normal. The local authorities, as before, are keeping a close watch on the situation and offering relaxations wherever the situation so warrants.
And the government on Wednesday launched the country's largest sanitation survey, Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin 2019. The aim of this survey is to engage rural communities in improvement of the sanitation status of their districts and states through intensive campaign. The 45-day-long survey will take place in 18,000 villages of 698 districts. Swachhata activities have also been planned at around 87,000 public places where community meetings will be organized. People can also directly give their feedback through the mobile app. Under the Swachh Sarvekshan Gramin, districts and states will be ranked on data collected from citizen feedback, direct observation and service level progress. The government aims to use the survey to reach out to as many as 3 crore people to create awareness about improved levels of sanitation in the rural parts of the country. Launching the second edition of survey in New Delhi, Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat said, the aim of this survey is to accelerate the momentum of Swachhata Abhiyan.
हमको आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के माध्यम से इस बात को जांचने की आवश्यकता है कि ये 1.5 करोड़ लोग जो पिछली बार हमसे जुड़े थे, वो 1.5 करोड़ लोग में कौन सा ऐसा एरिया है देश के 600 से ज़्यादा 700 के लगभग जिलों में, कौन सा ऐसा क्षेत्र है जो लगभग 6 लाख गाँव में जहां अभी ग्रे एरिया है, जहां से लोग हमको इस टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से मताभिव्यक्ति नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम उनको ढूंढ करके उस एरिया को फोकस करें.
And as the flood fury continues in several parts of the country, 3 people, including a woman and her daughter, drowned in Mandsaur district of Madhya Pradesh on Wednesday, as around 3,000 people were shifted to relief camps following a heavy downpour. According to the IMD, most of the entire state is receiving rains and some areas are expected to have very heavy to extremely heavy rain by Thursday morning. Meanwhile, the Kerala government on Wednesday announced a flood relief package for all calamity-hit families which had suffered losses in the torrential rains. Many low-lying areas remain waterlogged as the death toll has risen to 102. A red alert has been sounded for 3 North Kerala districts of Malappuram, Kannur and Kozhikode. With the recovery of 4 bodies in Hassan district, the death toll in the devastating floods and incessant rains in the parts of Karnataka has gone up to 58. Meanwhile, with inflows into the reservoirs steadily decreasing, the situation in the affected districts in the north coastal, Malnad and south interior Karnataka has improved further. And life is slowly inching back to normalcy in flood-ravaged Kolhapur and Sangli as flood waters have started to recede. 6.45 lakh people have been shifted to safer locations in Kolhapur and Sangli, which are worst affected districts in the state. Markets news, the wholesale price index inflation in July fell to a multi-year low of 1.08%. The third consecutive decline to a 25-month low is mainly on account of cheaper fuel and food items. Inflation based on wholesale price index was at 2.02% in June this year and 5.27% in July 2018. The previous low of our WPI inflation was 0.9% in June 2017. The consumer price index-based retail inflation also eased marginally to 3.15% for July. Delhi's Patiala High Court has extended custody of former Jammu and Kashmir MLA Rashid Engineer till August 21st. Rashid was arrested by the NIA last Friday in a terror funding case. After his arrest, the former MLA from Langate in Kupwara district was brought to the national capital. And one can now easily avail the information related to the Ministry of External Affairs. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar inaugurated a website on Wednesday which will give information about the work of the Ministry of External Affairs. It aims to make the work of the Ministry of External Affairs transparent, accountable and accessible. It is being called the Performance Smart Board of the Ministry of External Affairs and is available on media-board.gov.in. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar inaugurated this MEA dashboard on
This ministry
has accordingly intensified efforts to be a transparent and accountable ministry. Taking the vision of the Prime Minister forward, this ministry's dashboard aims to put performance indicators of MEA at the disposal of the people in a smart and uncluttered manner. MEA's Performance Smart Board is a visual display of the most important information needed to achieve the objectives of the ministry.
And that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.